Who is the person that you feared the most in that life? And they'll bring up the name Roy DeMeo. He had that whole crew, and they were a pretty violent group. You know, the Grim Reaper, Greg Scarpa. He was one of our crew. He was a captain along with me. But let me explain something to you. When you're a made guy, you're not in fear of any one guy. Everybody that took that oath is capable of doing damage. Hey everybody, it is Friday morning. I am up here in beautiful Napa Valley. I took my son here for his birthday, my Michael Jr., 31 years old. Wanted to do a little wine tasting, everything outdoor, of course, and wanted to do a little golf. So we've been up here for a couple of days, having a very blessed and great time. And, I want to thank everybody that's been viewing and been tuning in to my new YouTube channel. In 10 days, we just passed 10,000 subscribers. Now, I know that's not a lot. On different platforms over the past 2 years, I've amassed around 70 million viewers, but that's doing interviews for other people. So I'm really grateful and thankful for all of you that are tuning in. Hope you're enjoying it, getting something out of it, getting a little bit of information, education, encouragement. That's what this site is all about. And I figured every Friday I'm going to try to answer questions. I get so many questions on all different platforms. We try to go through the comments. It's tough because we get thousands of them on all the platforms, YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. So we try to get through them with my team and get some questions answered, because I know you like that. A lot of it is mob related, some of it is faith-based, but all different questions all over the field. So we're going to do our best to try to answer them every Friday. And, one thing I do have to say, I get asked this question so much. They said, Michael, who is the person that you feared the most in that life? And they'll bring up the name Roy DeMeo. I'm sure people know who Roy is. Those of you that are kind of the mob enthusiasts, you follow this, you know who Roy was. He had that whole crew, and they were a pretty violent group. A lot of people ask about, the Grim Reaper, Greg Scarpa. I know who, many of you know who he is. He was one of our crew. He was a captain along with me. And people, let me explain something to you. When you're a made guy, you're not in fear of any one guy, because everybody that took that oath is capable of doing damage. I don't want to be offensive. I know that there's some women listening in. Please understand, I'm not glorifying this, but I'm just trying to explain. We don't fear anybody else. What we fear is making a mistake that could suffer severe consequences. That's what it's all about. I'll give you an example. Paul Castellano, he was the boss. He wasn't in fear of John Gotti, but what happened at Sparks? You know that. You know the story. Carmine Galante, he was a pretty tough guy. He didn't fear anybody, but what happened to Carmine? So in that life, you fear making a mistake that you can suffer consequences, because every one of us were capable of doing damage. I want to leave it at that. I don't want to get too explicit about things like that, but that's a question I get asked all the time. Who is the toughest guy around? Not a question of being tough. We're made guys. We're all capable of doing something. So we just got to mind our P's and Q's and make sure we don't get in a situation where we could suffer consequences at the hands of one of our brothers or another made guy. So I hope you understand that. Today I'm going to deal with some prison stuff a little bit. I get asked a lot about prison, and people say to me, Michael, how did you do that? How do guys go to prison? I don't know if I can ever do that. Well, let me tell you something, people. If you had to go to prison, you would do what you had to do. They don't say to you when you get convicted of a crime and get sentenced to prison, they don't say, hey, do you want to go to prison or do you want to stay home? You don't have a choice. So when you don't have a choice, you go in and you make the best of it. As far as I'm concerned, I can tell you this, people. I've been either in prison, visiting prison my entire life. Ever since I was 10 or 11 years old. My dad was, jailed for a big murder case at one point in time. I visited him when I was 10 or 11, and that hasn't stopped. It's been nonstop all the way through. I did 8 years in prison myself. I was arrested 17 or 18 times. I know very well what a jail is all about. So it wasn't foreign to me when I went to prison. But my dad taught me three things, and he was very wise, and he taught me three things to survive in prison. He said, Michael, remember these three words: please, thank you, and excuse me. He said, because everybody in prison, there's so many people in there that never got respect on the street. They want all the respect in prison. So you say those 3 words, doesn't make you a punk, it doesn't make you a coward, but you just get by a lot better. And I learned that, never had a problem in prison, never, not one time. But I do want to tell you this, I'll give you kind of a funny story. I had taken a plea to racketeering. I got a 10-year prison sentence, big restitution, $15 million, and I was sent off to do my time. Now, I had been given no bail, so I was locked up in MCC, which is the federal jail in Manhattan. And I was there with everybody, Persico, all the guys were in there because they were all facing racketeering cases on different charges that they were in. So I was there with everybody. When I finally got sentenced and I got designated to Terminal Island, California, now they start the transport process, which is very difficult. You get put on a bus or a plane that the marshals, confiscated for some drug dealer, and it could take you 2, 3, 4 months to get to your final destination. So I get taken out of MCC and I get brought to Lewisburg Penitentiary. It was one of the level 6, the high security institutions. And at that point in time, they had to open up the basement of Lewisburg, which had previously been condemned because it was a bad spot. Now, when I happened to get there, there was a riot in a big DC jail. A riot, they burnt it down. And a lot of the DC black guys that were in that jail, were transported or designated all over the country. There's about 700 or 800 of them. And they put, I believe, 250 of them in that basement in Lewisburg Penitentiary. So, government was a little mad at me. They were trying to give me the business. So what do? They bring me to Lewisburg on my way out to Terminal Island, and they take me into the basement. And I'm walking through the basement. I'm a young guy, I'm a made guy, but I'm in my 30s. And as I'm walking down there, and guys, I'm not meaning to offend anybody, so don't start with the racist stuff. That's nonsense. I'm telling you a story, all right? Because I get along great with the black guys in prison. But they're taking me through that basement, and what happens is all these blacks, 250 of them, I'm the only white guy. And as I'm walking through, I'm cuffed and shackled, and they're saying, oh, look at Whitey, and we're going to get you, and they're giving me all of this kind of stuff. And I'm walking through, and I'm saying, man, I'm going to have a tough time over here. As I'm walking through, they had televisions on the tier, right? TVs. And just as I'm walking through, there comes a news flash. Michael Franzese, big mob guy, locked up on a RICO act and a $2 billion case in the gas business and so on and so forth. So the guys are looking at the TV, looking at me, they see me, and all of a sudden they start clapping. Hey, look who's here, this big shot mob guy. So it was, I tell you, thank God at that moment in time, that thing happened to come on that television. I might have had a little rough time there. So anyway, I get in, I get settled, and one of the COs, the correctional officer, says, Franzese, go into the bathroom for a minute. I said, what do you mean go into the bathroom? I'm not going in the bathroom. He said, listen to me, go into the bathroom. Somebody wants to see you. Okay. So I go into the bathroom and there's nobody there. I'm saying, what the heck is this guy talking about, right? All of a sudden, out of the window, I see, like this pillowcase. I think it was a pillowcase, wrapped up with a string or a rope on it, rather. And it's coming down to the window. So I go over it and I pull it over and I open it up, and what do you got in there? Cigarettes, candy, all the stuff that you need to survive, in a situation like that before you get to your designated spot. And I look in there and there's a note, love Jimmy Burke. Now, you know who Jimmy Burke was, the De Niro character in Goodfellas. He was a friend of mine. He happened to be upstairs with a lot of other guys up there that were friends of mine, other made guys. And he said to me in the note, he said, Michael, anything you need to make yourself comfortable down there, we got. So that's valuable stuff in prison. When you got smokes and you got, cereal and all that kind of stuff is valuable. Now, in that prison, you got to understand something, people. When I was in jail, I was only worried about 2 things. I wanted my phone calls and I want my visits. That was it. And the reason for that, I'll tell you, when my dad went to prison in Leavenworth in the early 70s, he got 1 3-minute phone call a month and 1 visit a month. So we used to visit him as a family every other month. But 1 3-minute phone call, you don't have time to interact with your family members. So as a result, my father lost touch with my family. It's like he wasn't, I don't want to say he wasn't important, but he wasn't involved. He wasn't around. He couldn't help us out. My brother got hurt, got stitches. We couldn't call my father. So he became, less of a commodity, I would say, or less of a presence in our family. So I didn't want that to happen with my family. I had a young, beautiful wife. We had one little baby, and I wanted to make sure I maintained touch and a presence in my family. Now, the phone calls were different. You were allowed to get on the phone every day and so on and so forth by the time I got to prison. But in this particular place, there were only 2 phones, and they were only on every other day. And there were 250 guys. Now, the phone in prison is a hot spot. I saw more guys got problems over the telephone, who got hit, who got beat up, who got shanked because, they were abusive on the telephone. You can't do that because people in there, they want to be in touch with their families. The phone call is important because it's the only real access to the outside world. So I said, man, 2 phones every other day, 250 guys down here, how am I going to get on the phone? So here's what I'm thinking. Okay, I got all of this stuff. I didn't smoke. I didn't eat a lot of candy. Back then, I eat a little bit more now, but back then I didn't. So I got a hold of one of the black guys there, and I said, hey, come here, I want to talk to you. I says, who's the guy here that you all looked up to? Who's kind of your leader in here? And he points him out. I says, bring him over to me. I want to talk to him. So he comes over. I says, come here, I want to show you something. And I open up, the pillowcase that Jimmy had sent me, and I said, look, you got cigarettes, you got candy, you got toothpaste, you got everything that you need in here. Whatever you guys want, whatever you want in particular, I got it. Just tell me what it is. I get it from upstairs. I got a lot of friends up there. I said, but here's the deal. One of those phones on the wall, they're mine. Every other day, whenever I want that phone, it's mine. He looked at me and he said, hey, bro, you got it. And that's how I bartered for the phone back then. So I was able to stay in touch with my wife because, I had just gone away and she was kind of upset, and I was able to maintain control of my family. That was the first, I would say, major experience that I had when I got on the road transporting in the federal system. So, I got a million stories, people, and I'm going to do my best, to try to fill you in and answer questions. But what does this all mean? I don't like to just tell mob stories and war stories just for the sake of telling them. But a lot of you are in a tough situation right now. I know it. You're surviving. Some of you are on unemployment. A lot of you are out of work. I get it. This is a tough time, unprecedented. I never went through anything like this in my lifetime. Nobody could have predicted it. I mean, these are very, very tough times. I want to encourage you. You'll be surprised what you can do when you motivate yourself and you're put in a situation where you have to survive. And we have to do that right now during this very, very tough time. For me, okay, I'm just a survivor. I'm a person of faith. I look up to God, for my encouragement. He gives me my strength. I see strength in Jesus Christ. My wife, she's a great supporter of me. She doesn't take any nonsense. My kids, everybody, they all keep me going. They keep me motivated. I'm just that type of guy. People, you have to look for something that's going to motivate you and get you through these tough times. I really mean that. Now, some of you, it's funny. I'll get an email from somebody and say, Michael, I got a problem. You need to call me right away. Well, you know how many of them I get? And people, you got to understand, I can't respond to everybody off the bat when they say they want to discuss something with me, but I'm sensitive to that. I realize you're going through a tough time. I want to be able to help you out. I'm going to encourage you. Listen, michaelfranzese.com. Join my coaching site. You can come on there for free and join the community for free where people are sharing ideas, they're sharing struggles and challenges that they have. I'm getting so much positive feedback from the people that are involved in the community. We got several hundred right now. There's another level of that. And by the way, I do get on with the community every 2 weeks or so. We get on a Zoom call. I take questions from them. We talk about certain things. We found it to be very helpful. There is another level where you can get personal coaching from me, and I'm really enjoying that with the people that I'm starting to coach personally now. I think they're getting a lot out of it. I know I'm getting a lot out of it because I like to be an encouragement to people. So, I encourage you to join, people. I really do. michaelfranzese.com. Jump on there, see if it's for you, and if it's not, it's okay. You can jump off. No big deal. Have a blessed weekend. Love all you guys. Take care.